Hello, friends. This story looks quiet on the surface, but it turns into a storm the moment a woman runs back to her hometown to escape a broken life. Lee is 35, a journalist burned by betrayal, stress, and a career that stopped feeling like hers. She thinks going home will heal her, but the town has its own gravity, and it pulls her into something she never planned. One summer job at a local pool, one kind conversation, and suddenly she's spending time with Jason, an 18-year-old boy who dreams of leaving this place forever. What starts as harmless friendship slips into a secret that can ruin them both. As the nights get longer, choices get reckless, friendships crack, and one tragedy changes everything. This is not a love story you can watch casually. It's messy, emotional, and painfully real. Let's start, friends. The story begins with a woman named Lee. She is 35 years old and lives in New York City. Lee works as a journalist, and she is secretly involved with her boss. To Lee, the relationship is serious. She believes it is real love, and she keeps hoping it will turn into something permanent. But her boss treats it like a casual situation, something convenient that he never plans to claim publicly. One day, Lee discovers a disturbing case. Someone had kept a tiger cub chained inside a house like a pet, and the cub ended up dying. Lee brings the story to her boss and writes an article about it, expecting the newspaper to publish it. But her boss doesn't care. He calls it too messy and refuses to run it. Lee argues with him, furious that he's ignoring something so cruel and important. During the fight, Lee learns the real reason he is pushing her away. He is engaged to marry another woman. The news hits Lee like a slap. She feels humiliated, betrayed, and suddenly foolish for believing he ever truly chose her. She breaks up with him, but the breakup doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like she's been thrown out of her own life. After that, Lee's loneliness becomes heavier. She already felt trapped in New York, and now she feels even more invisible. She wanted to do meaningful journalism, but her workplace keeps blocking her. Everything starts to feel pointless. Exhausted and emotionally drained, Lee decides to leave New York. Without telling anyone, and without even saying goodbye to her boss, she quietly returns to her hometown. When Lee arrives, her mother is suspicious and immediately asks why she came back so suddenly. Her father, on the other hand, is happy to see her. Lee tells them she plans to stay for a while. Her parents aren't thrilled. They remind her she had a strong career in New York and ask what she's going to do back home. Lee says she wasn't happy there. The pressure was crushing her mentally, and being back home finally gives her room to breathe. She admits she doesn't know what she wants next and just needs time to figure it out. Her father supports her and tries to comfort her, even if he doesn't fully understand. The next day, Lee meets her old school friend Todd, who works at an art gallery. Todd is friendly and funny, but Lee can tell he isn't truly happy either. Still, seeing each other again after so long feels comforting. Lee also meets another old friend, a woman who is now a vice principal at a school. She is married, but she has been struggling emotionally because she hasn't been able to have a child yet. She hides it in public, but it clearly weighs on her. She is genuinely excited to see Lee again. That night, Lee, Todd, the vice principal, and her husband all spend time together. They ask Lee how long she plans to stay. Lee says for now she's going to work as a lifeguard at the local pool, the same job she had in high school. Her friends are surprised. It feels strange that Lee would step away from journalism to return to something so small and temporary. The vice principal's husband also seems uncomfortable with Lee and Todd. He thinks they are irresponsible and doesn't like his wife being around them too much. The next day, Lee starts working at the pool. That's where she meets an 18-year-old boy named Jason. Jason comes to the pool with his best friend and a few other teens. He lives nearby, and his father works at the pool doing maintenance, so Jason is always around. Jason speaks politely to Lee and tells her that if she ever has trouble at work, she can ask him for help. Lee finds it sweet and harmless. The next day, Lee is out shopping with Todd. Outside the store, they run into Jason and his friends. One of the boys asks Lee and Todd to buy them a bottle of alcohol, claiming they don't have money. Lee refuses immediately. Todd, however, jokes back and asks what he would get in return. Todd wants weed. Jason's friends agree. That night, Todd, Lee, and the vice principal go to meet Jason and his friends to trade. The vice principal is nervous and keeps saying she can't be involved in this because she works at a school. Jason's friends shrug and say they're planning to leave town soon anyway and move to another city. The vice principal, feeling guilty, later pulls one of the boys aside and tells him not to throw away his future. She tells him to stop using drugs, stay in town, and finish school. Surprisingly, the boy listens. He decides to stay and not leave. Meanwhile, Lee spends more time with Jason and his group. Todd is there too, and they keep hanging out, smoking, talking, and drifting through long nights like they have nothing to lose. Lee tells Jason he shouldn't quit school. She warns him that life will get harder without education. Jason admits he hates this town and wants to escape. Over time, Lee and Jason begin spending more and more time together. What starts as casual friendship slowly changes into something emotionally complicated. Lee tries to hide it, but Jason notices. Jason also starts feeling drawn to her. One night they all hang out at the pool after hours. Everyone is joking around, but Lee and Jason keep looking at each other, almost forgetting other people are there. Later, when Lee goes to the bathroom to change, Jason follows. In a moment of impulse, they kiss. Lee knows it's wrong. Jason is much younger. But emotions don't ask permission. After that night, their relationship becomes secret and intense. They spend time together constantly and keep it hidden from others. Even though Lee knows the age gap and the situation could destroy her reputation, she also feels alive again in a way she hasn't felt in years. One day at the pool, a small child slips into the water and begins to drown. Lee reacts instantly, jumps in, and saves the child. People praise her, and for a moment she feels like she matters again. But her personal life grows messier. Lee starts coming home late, and her mother gets angry. Her mother believes Lee is wasting her education and ruining her future. One night while Lee and Jason are together, Lee realizes she has genuinely fallen in love. She asks Jason when he plans to leave town with his best friend. Jason says in a few weeks. He has saved some money and thinks he can make it work. Lee tries to discourage him by saying he'll need more money and that moving is harder than he thinks. Deep down, she doesn't want him to leave. She wants him to stay near her. At a party, Jason's best friend tells Todd he wants to leave immediately because he hates this town. Todd admits he used to feel the same way but couldn't leave because of family responsibilities. While comforting him, Todd touches him in a way that makes Jason's friend uncomfortable. The boy reacts harshly and says he isn't gay. That moment reveals something important. Todd is gay, and he's been carrying it quietly. Jason's best friend gets even more frustrated and tells Jason they should leave tomorrow. Jason says he can't yet because he needs more money. The friend takes it badly. His own mother has already thrown him out because of his behavior, so he has nowhere to go. He was depending on Jason. Now he feels abandoned and alone. At the same time, Lee's mother reaches her limit. She tells Lee they didn't educate her so she could come back home and work as a lifeguard. She also criticizes Lee's late nights and reckless behavior. Lee argues back, and in anger, her mother tells her to leave the house. With nowhere else to go, Lee moves in with Jason. The next day, Lee learns she has won a journalism award worth $1,000 for the article she wrote about the tiger cub. It's a small victory, but it proves she wasn't wrong. She was doing real work. Jason comes to the pool and they celebrate quietly. But then Todd sees them together and realizes what's going on. He doesn't confront them, but he's shocked. Soon the vice principal has a fight with her husband, who is tired of what he calls her irresponsible friends. She goes to Todd's place upset, and during the conversation Todd reveals that Lee is living with Jason and they are together. The vice principal panics. She goes straight to the pool and confronts Lee. She says Lee has lost her mind. Jason is too young, and if anyone finds out, it could destroy Lee and also damage the vice principal's reputation. She threatens to tell Jason's father. Jason hears this and fires back that he could report her too, because she has been buying weed from him and his friends. The argument becomes ugly, and everyone is exposed. Then tragedy hits. One day Lee and Jason go into the woods searching for Lee's missing cat. While looking around, Lee sees something horrifying. Jason's best friend has taken his own life. Lee tries to stop Jason from seeing it, but it's too late. Jason breaks down completely. He blames himself, believing his delay and hesitation pushed his friend into despair. Lee holds him, trying to keep him from collapsing into guilt. Lee takes a deep breath and does the responsible thing. She goes to the boy's mother and tells her the truth. The mother's scream is heartbreaking. Lee stays with her and comforts her, even though she feels guilty too. After this, Lee stops living with Jason. She moves into a small storage room space and isolates herself. In a strange twist, she finds her missing cat there safe, but the relief doesn't last. She feels like she helped create the chaos that led to a death. Meanwhile, the vice principal meets Jason's father and explains she wants Jason to stay in school. But Jason's father says he has already suffered enough. He doesn't want to force him into anything anymore. He believes Jason should leave town and start fresh on his own terms. Lee also returns to her mother and apologizes. Her mother forgives her. Slowly, the anger cools into sadness and understanding. At the funeral, Lee attends quietly. The vice principal shows up too with her husband, and Lee apologizes again. This time the vice principal forgives her as well, because after a death, petty blame feels smaller. Finally, Lee meets Jason one last time before he leaves town. They hug, and it's clear there is real affection there, not just a mistake. Lee knows their relationship was inappropriate and could never survive the real world. She tells Jason to forget everything and move forward. She gives him the $1,000 she won from the journalism award, hoping it helps him start over. Lee walks away with tears in her eyes, knowing she still hasn't truly let him go. Jason leaves for the city he always dreamed of. Lee returns to New York and goes back to journalism. Months later, Lee receives a letter from Jason. He writes that he found a job, he is doing okay, and he is happy to be away from that town. But he also admits he still thinks about her. And that is where the movie ends. If you want, I can also rewrite this as a YouTube movie recap script in American English with a strong hook, smooth narration, and no extra symbols in the exact word count you want.